can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligence and honest contributions. After all, my friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create. We've got a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, Picewell Forbes, a survivor of the political tsunami. We've got lots to talk about today, current conditions, the way things are looking, CARICOM, and some other things. Today, Picewell Forbes, my special guest on Hard Copy.
Driving on West Bay in rush hour? Hard. Getting a new car to enjoy the ride? Easy. Carting the kids around after school? Hard. Getting a car to fit them all? Easy. Get an easy auto loan from Commonwealth Bank. Super low rates, fast 24-hour approval, no loan fee, and no payments for 2 months. So come to Commonwealth Bank, and your next car is easy. Commonwealth Bank. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen up, Bahamas. Grow green to breathe clean. And Rocky Farms Nursery is the best place to start. They are your everything you are looking for store. New and improved. Bigger and better with varieties gone to bed. Soils, poinsettias, indoor and outdoor plants, fertilizers of every type, swordgrass, and the like. It's all at Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane. Go visit them today and behold. Call them at 324-1239. Fax them at 364-8113 or send them an email at rockyfarms@patelnet.ds. Rocky Farms Nursery.
Boy, this year flying by quick, eh? It'll soon be Christmas.
That's right, and I haven't even started saving yet.
Girl, what you waiting for? Why you don't join BOB's Christmas Club account? They give you higher interest than any other bank. So by Christmas, you'll have lots of money to buy presents for them 3 little rugrats.
That sounds like a great idea. How much do I need to open it?
Only $20, but you have to open it before June 30th.
Bank of the Bahamas Christmas Club account. Get more merry for your money. Only at Bank of the Bahamas, your bank of solutions.
Happy Independence, Bahamas, from Executive Printers. For all your printing needs, be sure to visit the best in the business, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue. Banners, brochures, posters, flyers, you name it, Executive Printers will print it. And they provide graphic art services too. Be sure to inquire about the Executive Check printing services, complete with security measures. Executive Printers, when you want it done right the first time. Call them today at 393-8267 or 393-5011. Happy Independence, Bahamas. Print that.
Transforming institutional investing, empowering Bahamians to save and invest, growing its business to create a strong and stable investment environment for generations to come. That's what CFAL has accomplished in its first 20 years. And that's what Bahamians can expect in the years to come. For at CFAL, we believe our past is the foundation for an even greater future. Call us today or visit cfal.com and seize your future.
The Show Bistro, Nassau Street, is serving up a delightful food fair this Independence. Be sure to make it a special occasion during the entire month of July and feast like a proud Bahamian at the show. Boiled and stewed grouper, served with piping hot yellow grits and Johnny cake, seasoned to perfection. Signature stewed conch, succulent and delicious as only the show can do it. The Show Bistro, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner with an Independence flair for the entire month of July. Come dine in with us and enjoy the good times. The Show Bistro, open every day, including holidays, from 7 a.m. until. Serving seafood and Bahamian delights galore all day, only at the show. Nassau Street. Takeout orders also available. Telephone 323-4400.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
Then God asked Cain, "Where is thy brother?" The clear indication was that God expects us to take care of and look after one another. Instead, here in our country, we steal, rob, rape, and ostracize, scandalize and murder our brother for selfish gain. Underlying factors of this deepening societal mayhem is a nation that is slowly losing its nails to gang wars, drugs, alcohol, and incarceration. Now that I have stated the case, ladies and gentlemen, what is it that the Lord wants me to say as a gatekeeper of this nation? He simply says, consider your ways.
See, I don't believe what the former prime minister said, because he had the access to the money, and he wouldn't say, I steal it or whatever to make himself look bad.
Well, I think we're in a very interesting place because you had an election campaign where a lot of allegations were made long before we got to Parliament and long before the election results came out.
See, the minute you go off course, that's the minute I suspect that you were not telling me the truth.
Ain't no honeymoon, ain't no getting to know you, because we got to know you on the campaign trail.
Now it's 2017 and you were worse at this time than ever before.
Right.
And it started with so much things. But you know what the major thing was for me? It was the scandals. And the fact that the leader doesn't address what's right and what's wrong.
We want to see the country built.
It is Tuesday, July 4th. Happy Independence Day to America. July 4th, 2017. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have partly cloudy skies for you this afternoon. 89 degrees right now in the nation's capital. There's a low tonight of 82 and a 20% chance of rain in the forecast. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by Seafowl. Sappadilla Summer Glow is coming up. 44th Independence Celebrations, the Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, the Show Bistro, of course, on Nassau Street, Mount Tavis Inspiration, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane, and Time for Independence, you want to go there. Water and Sewage Corporation, Ministry of Tourism, travel the islands this summer. Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, now available for you. Cool Tech, the air can do experts on Tonique Williams, Darling Highway, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages. Super Wash, open 24/7. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue. Ron's Electric Motors, Clarence and Wolf Road. Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue. And the McKinney Media Group. For advertisements, public relations, consultation, you want to come and visit us first. Today on Hard Copy, we've got the former ambassador to CARICOM, Member of Parliament for South Andros, Picewell Forbes. He's my special guest. We've got lots to talk about today, so just stick around. Here are the telephone numbers. You can write them down in case you want to be a part of the conversation. 325-023516. WhatsApp and texting 376-9234. Plus, you can go follow us on the World Wide Web at peace1075.com. Hard Copy YouTube channel. You can see us right now in the studios live, and of course, cable top box 970 plus BTC Flow on the go 613, and the TuneIn Radio, iPad, iPhone, and the Android. You can check it out and see and hear what we're saying. Of course, you can also go to the new radio app called Radio Air, and you can follow us on Facebook, Hard Copy, and on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. Well, I want to say a special good afternoon to my former colleague and friend, and of course, the Member of Parliament for South Andros, and the hometown boy, and what other names that he has? Soka Forbes.
I didn't want to go there, you know?
And so many other things that
I was going to stick with hometown. You know?
He is brilliant. Of course, we are talking with the hometown boy today. We welcome Andros to the airwaves today as well. Andros Island listening live to us, and of course on streaming and everything else. And Picewell Forbes has been the one who would have been one of four. There was Picewell Forbes and Andros. There was Glenna Santa Martin on New Providence and Angleton. There was Brave Davis in the Ragged Island and Rum Key and Cat Island. There was also Chester Cooper, the newcomer over there in Exuma.
and Ragged Island. I think they're hitched together now.
Yeah,
and they survived. They were scattered, friends, as we said countless times before, to the four corners of the Bahamas. So every major island, I suppose, except for Grand Bahama, they are represented in the PLP, what is left of those who survived the tsunami. Or as the fellow from Cat Island said last week, those who survived the salami. And yes, the truth is that Picewell did survive, and many people may not have thought that he would have survived such a serious, devastating defeat that happened for the PLP. That's all under the water under the bridge now, some people would like to think, but is it? Is it really water under the bridge? Because really right now you hear all the talk that's happening about elections that may be coming up soon within the PLP. And you've been hearing about the Young Turks who are trying to, get themselves in position to lobby to see if they can take over the party and become leaders. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to ask Picewell Forbes a lot about that today, because the truth be told, there are still the old lions that are roaring, like Bradley Roberts, Big Bad Brad, are roaring. And, it doesn't seem to me that Big Bad Brad is going anywhere, even though I've been hearing that he's wanting to step down and Opie Wilshcombe may become the new chairman, or he's one who's lobbying for that. But maybe the PLP needs more than that. We know for sure that Chester Cooper said what they really need is to repent. And they need to redeem themselves. Pretty much something like what Dr. Hubert Minnis, the Prime Minister, said. Redeem yourselves. Go and find penance and this kind of thing. But suppose the PLP were to get things together, what would it mean in the new makeup of that particular political party? Will they be in striking distance within 5 years' time? Well, the Young Turks, like Picewell Forbes, he's a young man. Picewell's a young man. Will he be a part of this whole new thing, or will he become a part of the fray and get caught up in all the madness and disappear from the front line? We're going to ask him all those things today. I'm just trying to, kind of get him ready. You see, he's sitting here. I'm just trying to get, he can anticipate that these things are coming. And, of course, the people in the public would like to know, because there are still many who are PLPs, believe it or not. The PLP lost great percentages in votes as far as their base. They were somewhere around 46, 44, fluctuating between 48, 44, 46%. They went all the way down to 37 as far as the end results show in the actual general elections. So they would have lost some, which means that some other people voted for the Free National Movement, and many of them were PLPs. Now, the new government is in. They seem to be doing okay. There's nothing to call mama about. But at least they're holding some things in place. For instance, Minnis is off now to Grenada. He's at CARICOM, and so is his new Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's off to CARICOM. They both will speak later tonight at CARICOM. And there's so many things that are happening right now that, the new government, they have to keep on running and keeping pace with what is expected of them. And there's been tremendous criticism that they're not doing a good job, that they're not on top of this governance the way that they should be, that they don't seem to have had a plan and a foot to when they get when they would have gotten into the office of power, so forth, et cetera, et cetera. All kinds of things are being said. Today, we sit down and we have a chat with Picewell Forbes because, he's been around. He knows them on both sides. He's liked on both sides. He's liked by the Free National Movement people. He's liked by the PLP people. He's liked by the DNA people. He's a likable fella because he's the hometown boy. And that's just the way it is. Picewell Forbes, we welcome you to the show, Hard Carpet today. How you doing, sir?
It's good to be here after such a monologue. It's hard to know where to start, but I'll begin first by saying it's great to be here and God has been good. But for the prayers of those I love and those maybe who don't love me so much who prayed anyhow, I wouldn't have been here without some hard work. And the people in my community believing in me, Steve, no matter what it takes, I would have been there for them. I spoke to the challenges of the community of South, Central, and Mangrove, Key Andros in a very direct way, in very itinerant form. And I laid out their case for each community in a very meaningful way, I think, for the most part, to my colleagues in Parliament, also for those who are listening and viewing the parliamentary procedure over the last 10 years. Gladly, I must say that, especially in South Andros, we would have had the docks and the development there, the gymnasium. I was glad to hear that a new minister, the Honorable Desmond Bannister, Minister of Public Works, my friend, we are part of the UE Pact. Myself, him, Desmond, Alfred Sayers, and Justice
University of Western
Bonata, and
Leeds.
all of us went to UE together. Sterling Cook and all the boys, the late Lincoln Bethel and the whole crew. The Hilton brothers and all us were there together. Juanita and Denise Lewis Johnson. Many of us would have been there together. But the fact of the matter is that we're going to have the gymnasium now constructed in South Andros. Potable water, up to almost $20 million is now being invested by the Bahamas government, started by the Progressive Liberal Party. It's being continued by the present administration, so we can have potable, what we call drinking water now from the government's complex all the way to Myers Bay. And also the development is going to be taking place to repair and remove the pipes in the northern area from the bluff to down to Drake's Hill. And also some developments at the dock and the redoing of the dock and resurfacing, and also new docking facilities in Mangrove Key, which is the second most renowned fishing community in our Bahamas outside of Spanish Wells. And in Central Andros, a brand new $5 million dock there. Up in Barron Point, what they call the Bishop Mackey dock, almost a $2 million dock there also. And also we're going to be putting a facility also then upgrading the park facility there. The beaches and the villages have been getting some cleaning. We want to see that continued on a more consistent basis, pardon me. And also we're looking at the possibility of having that long-awaited new primary school constructed in the Fresh Creek community, where daily Mr. McKinney, the children still have to cross the street in Fresh Creek between the upper section of the primary school and the lower portion in the preschool, which could be sometimes pretty frightening. Although there are speed bumps, some fellows still do some speeding around that community. So by and large, and also we would have had the employment exercises, because what is the most exciting part about that, Mr. McKinney, if you were to travel to my community, as I plan to do this weekend, to be in South Andros with the Reverend Marion Forbes and others in my hometown community where I was born for their pastoral anniversary. Then on Sunday evening, I'll be at the government's complex in South. I would love to be here now. So my daughter Paisilla wants to go to Clifford Park, but that's the unfortunate situation of being a member for the family violence. It's difficult to be here in Nassau, Clifford Park, and there are people that are 3 different ceremonies going on, one in Fresh Creek, one in Mangrove Key, and the other in Deep South in South Andros. So many times I try to make a decision where I'm going to go first. And I may just go to Mangrove Key early Sunday evening, then go across at 10 o'clock and be enjoying the ceremony in South Andros that concludes just after 12. But that's where we are. And so overall, we were able to get some things completed. When I look at the numbers, I'm concerned about the depopulation that is taking place in my community. The older people are dying out. And where there aren't many opportunities, many young people are going to leave. That's why I'm saddened. I always want to start with what challenges me most about my government not being able to have the reopening of the Lighthouse Club, and also through the aegis of the Hoodal Corporation, the efforts that we would have had some talks with the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, about the Emerald Palm in South Andros being reopened. We lost some 43 stable jobs in the spin-offs, have also been lost with taxi drivers, the fishing crew, and all that. So that still challenges me. And so when you have major events like the homecoming or the Labor Day weekend, many persons who go to the community don't have what I call the accommodations that many persons would be expecting or anticipating to be living
Happened
in.
just the other day with the Crab Fest,
Right. The same thing as the Lighthouse Club is closed. 48 rooms are closed down there. So these are the things that continue to challenge us. And I'm glad to know that Minister Diagla, we have had some cursory discussions about this matter in the Parliament. So we're going to have some further discussions pretty shortly. And we'd like to know who's going to be the new chairman of the Hoodal Corporation. And hopefully if that person is one who has an empathy for family island life, I will hopefully have a listening ear there so we can move forward in those 2 matters.
Vice Forbes, let me ask you this question because, really, notwithstanding all that you have articulated just now and all the wonderful things that you are pleased that happened and some of the disappointments you've expressed, I want to ask you, how disappointed are you? The fact that successive members of Parliament for that particular area have not been able to turn things around to stimulate that economy, to get things moving in a way where young people are working. You talk about depopulation. The reason for that, obviously, is because people got to go someplace else to find a way of making a living. I want to ask you about your considered views about the serious concerns about the disappointment of those in the family violence, like in your constituency, South Andros. Serious disappointments because the truth is that you said it yourself. More could have been done by successive governments, and that includes the F&M government, that includes the PLP government, but more succinctly, the PLP have always been there representing that particular constituency. Kemps Bay, South Andreas, that is Pindling's old area. And so, more should have been done for that area. How do you deal with that in going forward with the challenges that you call challenges? I mean, how do you deal with that?
It is something that drives me daily. And I told persons, I kind of mimic some things, and I learned quite a bit in sitting next to the former Prime Minister Hubert A. Ingram in the smokers room many days. And he always, what people say, him in vernacular, messed with me. And he'd call me, South Andreas, sit down right here, sit down here. And I always like what he did in the Cooperstown or the North Abaco community. Like what we say in the Bahamian way, nothing was too good for those people down there. And
was he exemplary when it comes to member of parliament and prime minister representing a family
one
owned
of the best
constituency?
administrators complex, brand new airport, good roads, good dock. Nothing was too good for North Abaco. And that drives me until this day. That's why I wanted to be at the cabinet level so badly. Because for me, you feel the urban pull as a Family Island member of parliament. Persons are asking for opportunities. How many persons you could put in the governance complex at the Bluff? Very limited numbers. The same for the administrators complex and Little Harbour and Mangrove Key. So there aren't a whole lot of places that you can actually place persons at water and sewers, the BTC now that is privatized, and many other government agencies. So for some degree, the government has to look at its own policy. So how are we going to have persons now being redirected back to these family islands and reverting to the family island living, but at a certain standards? That's why I was so critical, the efforts by the former Prime Minister to have that port constructed at Clifton Pier. Because if you look at the distance, Mr. McKinney, between here and Central Andros, you could do what persons doing.
Up, skip, and jump.
Up, skip, and jump. You could take 35 minutes and you two work in the morning here in Nassau and go back in the afternoon. Like how you see for the most part, persons are moving back and forth on the Bahamas ferries almost every day from all the way in Harbour Island. Andros, you got to make almost 2.5 trips to Fresh Creek from Clifton Pier. And I think that was a mistake that this country would have made when the port was not constructed there. It really had some implications for the development of Central and South Andros by extension. When one looks, for example, at the community, infrastructurally, we would have to have the naming of the airport terminals. Are the same terminals that have been there now for 30, 40 years. They can't hold the people. Many of our, that community is a lot of persons are there in the bone fishing industry and boutique hotels, B&B, bread and bed and breakfast hotels, small resorts, 3 to 5, 7, 8 rooms. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes when you go to these small hotels, like the airport terminals at Congo Town, it's oversaturated. Too many persons are there, and so we want to have a renaming exercise in Congo Town. But I mean, the terminal is just not up to scratch.
Let me ask you this question, Paisel Falls. Was there a particular reason why you were not in the cabinet? You certainly were qualified for it, and it seemed to me, and I must be frank with you, that Christie was ensuring that you were busy doing something else, and you got this post as the CARICOM ambassador to CARICOM from the Bahamas. And I think you did well in that post. But of course, this would not have had you in town facing your people. No, I got to be frank with you. You were not, and I'm being gentle, but at the same time, hear what I'm saying. You were out of town. You would not have been having the FaceTime and intermingling with your constituents, and you would have been not a gray hair in Christie's head, because you were not around the cabinet table because you kept on lobbying and fighting and asking him when you can do this and when. I know about this, and so I'm saying here you are lobbying, but you have no real effect in the body politic as far as getting it done, because you were not around to follow through on a number of things because of your commitments at the CARICOM level. And then you still pull off a victory. And that says a whole lot. That means that something happened that nobody had been noticing, but Paisel still kept a kind of rapport with his people, and they voted for him even though the entire tide was changing. And you are still a member of parliament.
I tell persons, I laughed because I was disappointed, and especially 2 of my colleagues did not win their seats. I expected what we call the hard 10. If you give me a chance, I'll name those what I call the hardcore 10 to won their seats. But the Honorable Leslie O'Miller, my real friend, and the Honorable Frederick Audley Mitchell, Foxhill. There are many times we will be coming in. We leave Guyana at 3:30 in the morning from our hotel to go to the airport, the Shed Jigan in Guyana, fly to the Bahamas, arrive back here in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. Sometimes I catch the afternoon flight into Mangrove Key to be there at night after waking up in the morning. And so persons would have seen the efforts that it was taken for these things to happen. There were times I came into New Providence in the afternoon, Mr. McKinney, 4:30, 5 o'clock, had to drive over by General Aviation and get a charter for $500 by myself to attend events in my constituency. That's a poor man. So don't ask me about the disclosure issues. That's been a challenge. but this is the reality of it.
I understand.
And so
what you're
when
saying.
you look at it, I don't see it as everyone would want to be at the cabinet level, but of course, favor is not always fair. And the prime minister could only select so many persons. And I'm not bitter. You'll be disappointed, but you can't be bitter by this process. I look at my young friend Adrian Gibson from Long Island. I understand. I commiserate with what he's going through. I sat there for 3 days, man. So I understand the feeling, but I can't put it on Mr. Christie's head. My former prime minister has enough now. He's now retirement. I leave it right there. But the fact of the matter is, I'm proud of the achievements that were made by the former administration. They all had fiscal and financial challenges nationally. The influx of new funds funding was a major problem for the administration. You know how the government fought so hard to get the whole Bahama project moving and everything else to get persons to work and give them meaningful employment. But the challenge is everyone will want to be at the table. And that's what drives me daily. I want to give this at least one more shot because I have, through God's grace, I feel compelled to want to make a mark in the community of South Central and Mangrove Key.
You want to be that first fella to would have made a real mark down there that's tangible, that's meaningful.
No doubt about it. I want to see that subdivision that the Honorable R. Whitney Bastian would have had laid out there in Little Harbor, where we can have what we call a certain kind of home that can be built for maybe $10,000, $15,000. We all those young women who could afford those homes, who could remain in that community, and persons who here in Nassau who work in the various government departments and ministries could return home and be paid there locally, and we can see some exponential growth in the family and everything else, and also local constituents and the communicants in that community of Central and Mangrove Key Andros. People are simply asking for good housing, and as soon as the numbers people start going and inquiring, the rent rate goes up from $300 to $500 to $700. And so if I don't have cable, consistent potable water, how can I pay $700 in islands when they got to pay for freight? The gas price is a little higher. So the government has got to find a way, Mr. McKinney, and it has to come back to some degree when it comes to the farm islands and rural communities, where the government has to play a pivotal role. Say, for example, if BAMSI is in North Andros, maybe putting the fishing arm of BAMSI in Central Andros or in South, to give it some kind of stimuli, so that you can have a multifaceted approach to getting some kind of fishing, boating, something started in that community, and driving another 600-700 jobs into South Andros, and then people going back home. So you see new homes developing in Long Bay Keys and High Rock, and once again in the Bluff and Little Creek and Pure Gold area, where the Honorable Jerome Fitzgerald and others are from, and the Cartwright families are from, and all the Shenandoah and those people are from. So something like that must happen. Look at Michael, former Minister Gray area, now the Mrs. Emmanuel is there. What is going to take? The government must be involved in making these family island communities work, or they're going to die.
Is this something that you are pushing for even now under the Free National Movement government? Though you are not twins, but your family, the Free National Movement government, Minnis is the prime minister. He's from Andros.
Fresh Creek.
And the point is you want to see some things happen. Do you think that the Free National Movement government is cognizant along the lines of the family island development and not so Nassau-centric? Because this is where most governments in the past have missed the mark.
Nassau-centric, and that has been a major challenge. And so therefore you don't see enough investments, in my view, generally in the family island infrastructural improvement programs. And so you don't have good telephone. For example, I tell persons, let's look at the developments that have taken place in education. The former Minister Fitzgerald, left in place the high school diploma program and others, and there's people in education, and there's all this, the staff that make up the world of academia here in the University of the Bahamas knows at the high school and different levels, the Director of Education, Mr. Sands, and others. But at the end of the day, you have the chalkboard, information highway, and also the students at the South Andros High School, my alma mater, having access, Mr. McKinney, at this time in the 21st century to good chemistry, physics, and biology and chemistry classes in New Providence. And why this can't be done in collaboration with, say, for example, St. Augustine's College or St. Andrews, where the students could be exposed at that level. And I'm saying, if I can go online and do an online course in the UK, anywhere in Canada, North America, in the Bahamas.
There should be.
We should be able to watch and be a part of a teleconference online class.
No question about
anywhere
it.
in the Family Islands.
Well, they're talking a lot of things as far as these conferences is concerned, and so Jeff Lloyd and Minnis himself have been advocates of long distance learning and the rest of it. And maybe this is something that you have to constantly put on the table and see how your hometown boy, Dr. Minnis, the Prime Minister, is going to look at these things and if he's amenable to it. Vice Forbes, one of the things that's quite interesting here is that you mentioned earlier and kind of glossed over it, passed over it, the fact that there have been financial troubles, dire straits for the PLP and for the PLP government. But of course, people would differ with you. They'd say that you all had all kinds of monies at your disposal. You would have had all kinds of things that could have happened because of value-added tax, and you would have known that that became a serious trigger when it came to rebutting where the VAT money gone, and all of these kinds of things. There are so many things that could have happened and should have happened, people believe, and there has been, according to the Free National Movement government now, serious wastage. How do you address the kind of wastage that has been accused, or the PLP has been accused of, in a time when we cannot afford wastage, in a time when we ought to have been, making every dollar count and so forth and so on? How do you address that particular matter, especially now that the Free National Movement government seems to be hell-bent on costing investigations and perhaps even prosecutions? How do you respond to that?
I think my leader, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, did a very good job in Parliament in answering lots of the allegations and castigations and all the vitriolic comments that have been made in this regard. But Monday morning quarterback is almost 2020 hindsight. You have all the answers. But I know one thing at the end of the day is something you must do. You must then lead and you must manage. Mr. McKinney, I'm not saying that the PLP government was perfect, but if you notice, there's been a lot of reversals, retractions, and also many statements that have been made and pronouncements have been recanted.
Why do you think that is?
And because obviously
they were not truths.
They were not untruths. I didn't want to come on. I don't want to be so direct, and but I didn't quite mean it that way. Look at the NHI. When you were to go and dig a little deeper, all the comments have been made about the hurricane and how much it cost and the gentleman's name being called. I felt bad about it because this ruling some years ago in Trinidad against the Parliament, when persons are castigated in the halls of Parliament due to members of Parliament having privilege, and sometimes scurrilous comments could be made about the persons in the body politic, and they can't answer, and so therefore they allow some persons to seek redress across the bar at Parliament. And Trinidad, this ruling came down some years ago. But the fact of the matter is, that's where we are. $200-something thousand, but if someone has about 100 or 50-something persons employed and working with them, it sounds like a lot of money. But if I got to pay all these people, I got to get trucks and everything else. But it sounds good when you dig deeper.
Yeah, it sounds like the one man is making this money, but really he has a whole cadre of people.
And look at the emails that Minister Gibson would have sent, the Honorable D. Shane Gibson, to say, look here, I want this process to be structured differently. I want a new level of accountability. Everybody must stop. And all these things must be brought into consideration. And look at the VAT money. When I talked today to my good friend, the Honorable Michael Alcides, Mr. McKinney, if there's one person that was hurtful, and I said it in the platform, was from Michael Alcides, a young, decent young man. I love Mike, and everyone know that. Me, Mike, and Minister Gray, remember we going fishing on Saturday on the Minister Gray boat, and on Saturday coming. Mike is like a brother to me, man. Mike and Leslie Mill and Tony Moss and Dr. Norwich, that's how we were. And I knew when I saw the pain when I went to Mike's office, I could have cried. Mike is not like me, who's going to be expressive. And, I get a little hot sometimes. But Mike was just there, and he, Paisel, and he took it, man. That was hard. And it also had implications for his reputation in the financial sector. And you can imagine him going out for an interview now, or anywhere in the world, even regionally or in Latin America, and someone making a joke. Maybe having a jocular moment about it. Mike, where's the VAT money?
Yeah.
And so, I think, and then on top of that, Mr. McKinney, the government comes to power. No pun intended. But then there's no other discussion about it. So no, everything virtually is okay is not the case. And so
it does look suspect.
And then the imputations are that, and then Mike's reputation has almost been sullied by this kind of thing.
But Picewell Falls, we've got to be fair and balanced, and that's what I'm all about. And the point is this: Michael Alcides would have caused a lot of this on himself.
By doing what?
Is the viewpoint of many people. By flippantly dealing with that issue at that PLP convention. I was there. I covered the PLP convention.
Okay.
And Michael Okides' positioning on that and his expressions about the VAT money gone was too frivolous, was too kind of cavalier. And this is, no, you have to understand. This
is a convention.
But wait a second. I can appreciate
I
that.
got to jump in it. This is a convention where
it's a convention.
You're trying to rally your base.
But you're also, you forget the base. You're also responsible for the people's money.
I agree.
You are the state minister for finance. You cannot so cavalierly decide that you're going to flippantly say, that's where the VAT money gone, and make a kind of a joke out of it, even though I don't think he really wanted to do that. I think he got it. I think that was one of his best speeches as far as being a politician kind of person is concerned. But it was not the time and place to deal with the VAT money situation, because this was egregious to a lot of Bahamians who were saying, look, man, you know, these PLP fellas have collect all this money, and, you know, the bottom line is that, you know, we broke, we got to pay this, and this fella just come up with this kind of thing, but that's where the VAT money gone. It was too frivolous.
Mr. McKinney, I'll take some level of understanding in that what you said about my good friend, the Honorable Michael Okides. But the fact of the matter is, though, this is the same guy who many times persons would have said to him in our parliamentary caucus, Mike, you're too uptight. You know, Mike normally gets up and speaks.
No, I understand that.
No, so what I'm saying to you now, you had a convention. Persons are saying to you,
kind of shake loose.
Shake loose and be,
Understood.
you know, Mike, you got to do this. You're the leader. You could be a leader of the party, do so and so and
Understood.
so. And Mike is not a fellow who go for all the color and all the glips. And that is not Mike. And so the fact of them on all the flair and all that. And so here it is, he's in that environment. People are screaming and making noise. There's a level of ebullience around the place, and everybody excited. And so here it is, he makes these comments. And I saw some of the editorials that were made about it. And I agree. I guess he would have done it differently. Yeah. And when you look at it, in a post-mortem kind of way. But the fact of the matter is, Mr. McKinney, what was done to his reputation, I think, was really harmful. But on the other issues, I listen, Mr. McKinney, much has been said about who's going to go to jail and what's going to this and that. At the end of the day, the investigations are going to go on.
Do you think anybody's going to go to jail?
I don't think so.
Soberly, seriously,
I don't
think of it
so.
now. Do you think anyone is going to go to jail, considering that the government of the Bahamas has been leading people on, perhaps inadvertently leading people on, that something is going to give, we're going to get them for doing what they did? The Bahamian people, on the whole, expect that something should happen in cases where it seems to be malfeasance and misappropriation. And these are only allegations, I admit. And see, I'm saying the government has been playing into that narrative, and so the Bahamian people's expectation continues to climb to the point where they're expecting something gonna happen. Something gonna happen, boy. Somebody going to jail is what they've been saying. Now, I want to ask you again, do you think is there any reason why Picewell Forbes would be believing that somebody in his administration will be the one holding the bag at the end of the day and would have to answer for anything that they would have done? And would Michael Okides be in that position?
I sincerely doubt. No, Mike would not be going to jail at all.
No, I'm not saying if he.
Mike would not even be left in the discussion, because Mike has been an honest, decent, noble son who would have worked hard, worked many evenings into the evening to try to keep the payment financial ship afloat.
I'm sure.
And so at the end of the day, what I'm saying, when this process would have gone through the entire process and all the assessments and evaluations that have taken place, I can assure you, Mr. McKinney, that the issues and the concerns about malfeasance and maladministration and all the other things involved therein and improprieties, you would find very few, if any. And on top of that, Mr. McKinney, all of these ministries have permanent secretaries, senior officials, and everything else. Ain't only the minister, you know. And people keep on forgetting that. And so when people implicate ministers or senior officials, many times your cousins and your families are part of these things too, you know. So you might say you want to tear down so and so and so, but also down the chain, there are many other persons who are involved in this whole process too. And I keep on telling persons, you got to be careful how you spit in the wind. People say it comes back in your face, and you never know.
Spit in the wind and blow in your face.
So my thing is that I am not saying I don't believe the process should not go forward. The government has to do what it has to do.
But you don't think they'll find anything?
I don't think they'll find anything.
You made a statement just now that's a very profound statement, because it is in fact true that many people don't remember or don't know the operations of governance or government in power. And that is that the setup, the way the setup is in this Westminster system and the way that we do our parliamentary democracy and everything else, we have permanent secretaries. And we have directors and we've got assistants and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole drayload of people.
The bureaucracy is there.
That's right. It is there.
Checks and balances.
But it's not only there. It's not only bureaucracy from a point of view that this thing is going to take long to get done. Yeah. It is there for checks and balances, precisely. Yeah. And so now that people are saying this minister, this happened in this ministry. How come this happened? As most of the ministers presently now have been saying, no one has been looking yet at the fact that permanent secretaries are running this thing, and they're the ones who spend, they're the ones who decide, they're the ones who sign, they're the people who do that. Ministers can authorize certain things by giving his policy decision on certain things. That's how it should be. And I'm sure that some ministers will dictate what exactly will happen. I'm sure of that too. But the point is this: there are people who have to be accountable. And are you suggesting to me, Mr. Forbes, today that the government of the Bahamas would have to do thorough investigation to look at those in the civil service, those who are serving in these permanent secretary and so forth posts, to deal with what has actually really happened?
You must, if you look at it from Mr. McKinney, you laid it very succinctly. You must have what they call a forensic auditing process take place, because you must look at where it all commenced, what caused this process, and there must be a proper chronological ordering of how things would have gone. This came in this date. Why this got from here? Why it skipped over so and so? How it got here? And so, which ministry does really belong to? Did this come under the hurricane thing? Did it come to the office of the prime minister? Did it come to the ministry? Did it come to the Ministry of Works? And all these things have got to be. There must be justifiable reason. Don't forget during the commission and inquiry, many persons went to the commission and inquiry simply to test the Right Honorable Sir Lyndon Pinning head off. But how many other persons' names were also called in that whole process?
We remember quite well.
Many other names were called, and many of these persons would have gone on to serve once again in the public service. And so I'm saying to people, many times we get on these, where we want to hear and destroy sometimes persons politically, that minister, so and so and so. But I'm telling you.
Do you believe that the government,
there are many other persons
do you believe that
process.
ministers and the government of the Bahamas is now presently on a witch hunt?
I wouldn't call it a witch hunt. I think the government did not come to office with a very focal plan. I didn't hear much about, I would say also to some degree by the PLP itself, you didn't hear much about our plan, what we wanted to do. Either as a new government, we wanted there was supposed to be a level of continuity in what we had started. But for the new government, I didn't hear a whole lot. All I was hearing is that there's going to be a reversal of VAT. Don't forget that now. VAT on medicine. People are going to go to the college, the University of the Bahamas is going to go free, and there'll be no VAT on this and no VAT on that. But that talk has now been put on the shelf somewhere.
Why do you suppose that is? Why do you suppose that ministers and them have not articulated in further detail or succinctly their plans for the future development of this country by those very items that you mentioned, repealing of VAT, so forth and so on? Is it because, Picewell Forbes, that they could not do those things based upon the financial condition that they met this country in and had to borrow $722 million?
So, can I be the devil's advocate and say that?
Please, by all means.
Why the devil you can't think that somebody was surprised by the fact that they won the elections?
Well,
let's go there.
Listen there.
You want to take the hometown boy?
I want to go there, but I wasn't going there just yet, because that is a very relevant question, whether or not.
I know what happened in my constituency. I simply tell the people, lady come to me, they saw me the other day. Hometown boy, I need an ID. So and so got my voter's card. They say, Mama, I need you to go to the police, go back and pick up your voter's card. And I want to hear the story. So don't go there with Ms. McKinney. I know what happened in South Andros, and we know what happened in Fresh Creek.
So, you need to tell me, because I don't know what happened in South Andros.
That they won the elections the way they did.
Okay,
in the numbers.
Put a pin right there for a second.
Once again, I don't see. I'm a nationalist. I'm a nationalist. My mom, Deaconess Lily Mae Forbes in the Jumbo Church last year, June 26th, my good friend, Dr. B.J. Nordich and his wife sat in the Lily in the Valley called the Church of God Cathedral, the oldest Pentecostal church in this country, my church, the mother church, last year. He's gone to meet his reward. So I celebrate him this evening posthumously. But the fact of the matter is, what I'm saying to you is that my mom, Lily Mae Forbes, was right now sitting down this evening listening to me. She said, God doesn't make no mistake. She said, boy, yes. I said, Mom, I'm in Fresh Creek. She said, that's something, May. So keep your head high. So the Church of God people praying for you. That's what saved you.
Amen. That's what saved you.
That's what she said. She said, you have nothing to be ashamed of.
Understood.
So I'll see you at the church on Sunday morning. We'll give God thanks and praise together. Me saying, when we all get to heaven. That was it.
But listen.
And I was never sad one day.
So
amidst all the challenges and all the turmoils and everything else, it's an adjustment. I would never want to be in opposition for 2 seconds. And all this nonsense people say, if you want to be in the government, how bad is in government? Boy, look, yeah, before to be in government, catching hell for 50 years, going to be in opposition for half a day.
Well, listen, the bottom line is that
It's real
you
talk.
brought up something that is quite interesting, and I would like to go there because
I'll let Christy tell me to hate Haiti every day if I'm in government.
I'm one who want to explore. I'm one who want to explore this proposition that you put on the table. What if they was absolutely surprised by the fact that they actually got into the precincts of the governance of this country?
Totally surprised.
You think that's what actually happened?
think-
You think that they were really not prepared and that they won because the people just simply rejected outright the PLP?
There was the PLP had some challenges. I'm not going to get into an AR data limits on national radio with you this afternoon. I have my own view over some things. The difference with me now, the maturity has seeped into Picewell's vein. I still have the same gusto. I'm still a fighter. But I know there's a time to say certain things. This whole thing, but repent and redeem yourself, it's nonsense. The PLP is a party of legacy and history, man. We made some mistakes. We have not gotten everything right. But to tell the oldest established party in this country, amidst all its fallibility, you got to now stoop down, repent, re-engineer, rebrand. No, man, the people made a decision. And Mr. McKinney,
But
there were some
Picewell,
things,
with the greatest respect, the repenting and the penance and all that is completely different from rebranding. This is something that the people the young man who advocated that you must repent and seek penance. He is saying that from a point of view that you went wrong on some things and you were not as compassionate. You forgot the holy focus of the PLP's party to not one must go to bed hungry, that you have to serve the whole man.
So. No.
That is what he was talking about.
No, that is not so. I know what BJ and all this my friend would have done in Baintown. You weren't telling me. See,
I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm saying that's what he was saying.
Mr. McKinney, look at this. If the new administration and my good friend, Dr. Minister Peter Chang, as the Minister of Finance and Deputy Prime Minister, saying to us, Picewell Lowe's hired over 7,000 people in the public service. He tried to help, Mr. McKinney. The average,
but you can try to help, but you got to be responsible and try to help. You cannot pack the public's purse so high that you can't afford to take care of the situation.
The PLP increased the minimum wage in this country.
Of course they did.
Look at what happened to Honorable Melanie Griffin. We also made people feel better about themselves, even in collecting social services assistance. We gave them an ATM card, tell people getting them with voucher. No, man, look here,
you brought some decency to it. I agree with that.
Man,
I agree with that. No problems at all.
Let me tell you. So I'm not going to this thing where we got to wallow and stoop down. No.
That's how you see it by what your colleague from Exuma said.
I'm saying that we must be contrite. And I accept our loss. That's
well,
when people make their comments to me in Starbucks, I don't answer. I say, my brother, well, we got to do some things differently. But I'm not going to go through this. This is what I call this, in this wilderness thing for extended period. I know some things. We know internally some things went wrong, but the FNM to some degree had a better game plan than us, and we kind of drop our guard to some degree. I'll leave it at that, Mr. McKinney. I'll leave it at that. Mama, them say you say something in the keep something.
What you really mean though, Picewell, is that they brought Hubert out of the back into the front, and Christie lost his balance.
There's some truth to that too. What surprised me is this about that. You know how I feel about Papa. You know how I feel about him.
That's your good friend.
Okay, thank you. Leave it right there. And so the fact of the matter is, last year, a few months ago, Papa came out and said, well, now Christie is the best man to lead the country at this time.
I have the soundbite right here.
No, man, find that. No one.
You have the soundbite, Stevie.
The country like Christie.
Ingram on Christie. You better watch out. Christie can win this thing.
If I had 3 times, Christie should have it 3 times. You know, he would do what I do, and so he wants you to give.
You all got comfortable with that. You got an endorsement from Ingram, and Ingram turned around and then give you the boot. You got comfortable thinking that Ingram was saying, "Look here, the way that these fellas are having this infighting in the FNM, stay right there. Christie can pull us off." And he is saying that he was the best man for the job based upon the fact that Christie at the time was more stable and was more succinct and focused on what he was doing with the party. Yes. But right thereafter, the thing fell apart. And the thing fell apart because of a number of things. The troubles and challenges with Bahama, the actual thing that there was a sealed document that the Free National Movement ran with, Though at the end of the day, you saw there was nothing in it.
Where's the document?
Yeah, but the point, what I'm saying is that
Mr. McKinney,
that was
people,
the thing that
people
ran
like
the,
you two, when I came to Nassau and landing at LPIA, listen to you coming up from the airport,
Mhm.
were killing us about opening the envelope and
well,
opening
of
the
all of us,
unsealing the
everybody was
document.
killing you, and I take
No,
full
listen,
responsibility
Mr. McKinney,
because the
no
truth
one
be
puts
told,
no one puts it like you.
but see the truth of the matter is that the Bahamian people have a right to know,
Okay.
and that's where I
And you laid
stand.
it out very well and intelligently so.
And of
And
course,
so when you and your
and you
good
should have
friend
done it.
Paul-
And if you took my hint at the time, you should have said to your good friend Christy, "Boy, Steve saying that you better do something because you know this can beat y'all."
There are many others closer around the table than I was.
Oh, how convenient! How convenient that you wiggle out of
You
that.
on the trips, you know.
I tell you. Anyway,
It's good to be on a trip sometimes, Steve.
yeah, it was. I can imagine sometimes it's going to be out of harm's way. And I know that happened in many cases with Pipeswell Falls. But you know, when you look at this is all interesting as we look at hindsight now, look back at it. What is also interesting is that there were some issues, Pipeswell Falls, that happened that I don't know how you feel about it, but the truth is we ought to just talk about it and clear it up in any event, because Chester Cooper sought to basically say what the problems were. Not so much directly. There's some people that are trying to say that he talk all the people business. I think he was very, very coded in what he was saying and careful in what he was saying, but he was deliberate in trying to get the message across. And so I give him credit for that. And I think he's a great guy for standing up and doing that. I'll say that. But here it is. There were issues like the Jerome Fitzgerald issue. Jerome is your fishing buddy. He's your partner. He's your friend. And by your own admission, the point is this. Here it is. Jerome Fitzgerald got himself in a jam. In fact, it was a real embarrassing jam that he got himself in, and it was almost as if it was what you call that poetic justice, when you were the one who had initiated this email thing, and then all of a sudden you're caught by the cords of your own sin. You mess with the email thing. You sent an email out to this fella trying to get some monies, and it looked so bad, and you could not do anything about it. This is Jerome I'm talking about. So the point is, here he was caught by the cords of his own sin in that particular email scenario. And yet there was nothing that was said that could have at least made some other people who were on the border feel good about it. If only Christie would have said, this is what we're going to do about it, or this is how we dealt with it. They did nothing. They pretended as if it didn't exist. That time it's screaming out in all the headlines, in every headline, and it's getting nasty and nasty by the day because it just had a snowball effect just before the elections. Now, nothing happened. And as a result of that, that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, because people decided that, no, not this crew. This crew really out of control. And that's what hurt the entire process. Now, I want to ask you, how is it that no one sought to even speak up and say, I believe my brother Jerome should sit this one out, even though he'd already registered, he'd already nominated and all that, and I understand that. But even if there was a whisper or something that was said in complete opposition to where he was on the matter, it may have saved something in the PLP. It may, in fact, not have provoked or sparked the tsunami, because the tsunami happened as a result of that. And you saw, it just went all around the islands. It went everywhere. The flooding happened everywhere because of this whole matter.
I don't blame it totally on Jerome or Minister Fitzgerald, my friend. I think there would have been a number of things that I said the F&M outstructured and outplayed us when all the boys came home. They had
all the boys.
Look, man,
you call Hubert all the boys?
The reality is this. Papa's, I respect Papa. The reality is this. At first, they were all a part of an effort to overthrow or remove Dr. Menace. Loretta was supposed to.
You said they. You mean Hubert was a part of that too?
I'm not calling no name. I'm just saying the collective they.
Okay.
I've been around this thing. I'm trying to become a lawyer one of these days, like you would. So I know how to say some things. And so the thing is this: they were part of that effort that fell flat. So therefore, Dr. Menace got some sympathy. You know what happened there? Dr. Menace got sympathy from people. A lot of people empathize with him because he stayed steadfast. And on top of that, he missed the last almost 5-6 months of Parliament. He's on the road. Every time he looked around, my good friend Yonta Lebo, he was somewhere. Hi, Yonta, they know you're listening. They were, or she might be in Grenada now.
Yeah, she's.
But they were somewhere. He was somewhere in one of the family islands walking. He got a call. He's in Kemps Bay. He's in Mangrove Key. He's somewhere, and he is paying attention to the small details on the ground. And we were still in Parliament having our sessions and doing some things.
But he was absent.
He was absent doing some things on the ground. And so the thing is that we were about doing the national business and trying to get things together by passing legislation such as the homeowners bill and mortgage relief and completing NHI. It was very close to elections, and other things, trying to get the Bahama deal completed and concluded. And so the thing is, the Prime Minister was totally subsumed with this matter, being up all night. Former Prime Minister Christie, and I commend him for this. Although many persons berate him and so many things about him, Mr. Christie worked hard to make some things happen. And so therefore, here we had a situation where we were playing and looking at the national level, trying to get persons employed, keeping the National Training Agency going, getting NHI moving in a very direct way, keeping BAMSI going amidst all the comments that are made about it, the negative reports that persons were bringing out about BAMSI and the implications of it not working, what it's going to do and this and that, and the dormitories and all the comments, the comments that were being made, and its connectivity to the Bahamian agriculture or marine markets in our society. And is it really worth the while investing this kind of money in this whole process? And so Dr. Minister, I was playing small ball, and many times it's good to play small ball. It starts somewhere, and it started to mushroom. And so when the efforts, when the Eastern Road boys, the Bay Street boys came around, they said, hold on, this guy getting some traction. Pardon me, excuse me. So when that happened, they then put some people came together, some moneyed forces came together. I ain't got to be named. The moneyed forces came together, and the PLP money forces.
They say, let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal.
What's in our best interest?
Now, and the deal was done. Things were done. The structure. Let me tell you, man, the deal was so good. I had more than 2 or 3 members of Parliament in New Providence who could not find some of their poll workers in the afternoon.
What are you accusing these guys of? That they gone and they hijacked the poll workers?
Bahamian people are very, very
They spend some monies and that's the end of the day?
Thank you very kindly.
Well, listen, let me...
No, I got to finish making this point. What I'm saying to you, I said the F&M had a good plan. My thing is that I don't know if they expected a win. I think everyone wants a win, expected win. But the fact of the matter, that size victory. But on top of that, I never heard from their platform a plan of what we're going to do tomorrow. So now you're done in Parliament, and persons are saying to me, Picewell, we know you like to row. We know you like to carry on. And you're sitting down there. I said, I learned something from the late BJ Knowledge in 2007. He took myself and Tony Moss to lunch almost every Wednesday at Athena's or Via Cafe. When they came into Parliament, he said, you're too aggressive, Picewell. Speak slower. You're a broadcaster. You're anxious. Settle down. And before you respond, listen. Do not try to respond in a repartee mood across the floor when you're in this exasperated mode. It's not good for you. It costs you saying do things you don't want to do, and the wrong perception could be sent about you. He said, and where there's no need to be a part of a war, sit small. And I wasn't wondering why BJ sat in Parliament, not when the latter days when he was sick. He watched the old BJ.
Yeah.
He also did with a pretty cool here and sat there and smiling all day. And when you finish speaking, he gave you a thumbs up. And we sent you a note across the floor. A decent gentleman. That's why it's hard for me to talk about him and almost wanting to cry. And he told me, he and Fred Mitchell had a very calming effect on me. And I watched Mitchell at those CARICOM summits. And when we traveled the world, we went to London, everywhere else together. Made his presentation. And he never got involved in a conversation that was something to do with the Bahamas, with financial services sector. We were dealing with
he was all
issues,
business.
Always business. We were dealing with the free movement of people on the smuggling issues, climate change matters, and all the other issues that didn't involve the Bahamas. He had nothing to say. And I would have done all this reading and do this. I think I could have something to say. He look here, say that's other people's business, not ours. And you sat and you listened, you took copious notes. And so BJ and the Honorable Fred Mitchell have had a great impact on me and how I conduct and how I comport myself, especially as a public.
So you ready now to be the leader?
My party has a leader.
I'm going to get to that. I just was messing with you, but I'm going to get to that. But listen, let's go back for a second before I run to the break, right? Listen to this. Picewell.
Yes, sir.
Notwithstanding all the wonderful things you said, the flowery things you said, Menace and those, and the fact that you did basically make the connection about the moneyed people and so forth, because they did come together.
You need money to win elections.
No, but they did come together, and they got their deal.
They outplayed us.
Yeah, they pulled it off. They came from behind and put the forces together and did some things. Okay, fine. We know that. But here's something
there was also a level of disaffection with the PLP.
Yeah, but there's disaffection with the PLP. But here's something that happened that I don't know if most people picked up to it, and that's this. Christie, and if you were driving from the airport or on one of your trips here, you would have heard me say this all the time, but no one said it to Christie. Christie continued to castigate Minnis, to kind of like belittle him, to say to us, the Bahamian people, that Minnis ain't ready for this. You know, he's not ready. He can't do this. He's almost not even qualified to even be, you know, what is this he's trying to do? This is what Christie did. He talked down to Minnis in a way about him. And so that was a part of the empathy that you talked about that happened with Minnis. I agree. But when Christie did that, what I was saying to him on hard copy every day, which I knew that he heard, was lift your game, my friend. This is not Christie. This is not your characteristic. Christie does not do that kind of stuff, I said at the time. I said, lift your game and deal with the whole issue. Deal with the issues that you believe that you all have done to impress the Bahamian people. He didn't listen. All of those issues that you talked about just now, about the things that you all did with trying to pass NHI, trying to do this, trying to do the next thing, these are worthwhile things to have spoken about at that particular point. Christie ignored it. Christie continued to go after Minnis. This is what provoked Hubert Alexander Ingram to come from out of the woodworks and get onto the stage and deal with it. Yeah, that's why Ingram came back. Ingram would have stayed out of it because he saw that Minnis was being just totally just impacted, just body slammed, because Christie was hitting his character, which is also something that's very interesting here today. We see now that the Bahamian public are calling for Minnis to step up, speak up, talk loud, be strong. They're saying that now with him as prime minister, because there may have been psychological damage, you know. There may have been psychological damage to all the things that were said in the fray prior to Ingram, prior to Minnis becoming the prime minister, prior to him winning. There was all this stuff, these Scud missiles that kept coming that he can't talk, he can't this, he can't that. That's what happened, you know. And that is where Christie and those provoked the kind of sympathy, the kind of empathy for the now prime minister. And so, yes, you may be right in saying they didn't expect to win. Not with that kind of onslaught that Christie was doing. It was foolish. It was wrong. And all of the rest of them got into the fray on that, and they piled on Minnis. See, that is something that the PLP has not even talked about. That was not like Christie to be talking bad about a good man like Dr. Hubert Minnis. That was not like Christie. So he fell off his game, he got distracted, he got sidetracked, and then all of these things happened with Jerome and the rest of them, and Shane and all these people, and then he couldn't come back with nothing because he'd already spoken so badly about a man who was potentially the next prime minister of this country.
But history is always your best teacher. We can never forget, we would have been in Jamaica, like I mentioned myself, and Alfred Sayers, Desmond Kendall Wright, and others. They were completing law school. I was finishing my first degree at that time. Already passed the exams to go into law, but I couldn't afford it. My mom worked at Kentucky for 33 years, and I had to come back home to go to Zedden.
Your darling mom, of course.
Yeah,
we know well.
And so I always got to talk about her every day. So Sunday I celebrated her in the absence of my good friend, Dr. Nordich. But the fact of the matter is that you remember the days when we returned home, and I went to Windsor Park, and I saw the crowds. And we had heard, about the crowds that right on about Hubert Ingram was attracting at Iron Bailey Park. And I remember someone saying when I got back home, said, crowds don't vote. And I remember the story because Poison was saying, but there's no way that Ingram, he can't talk, he can't do this, he could beat Pinling. And so the rest is history. And he can't be no prime minister, he got no experience. So Lyndon became premier at the age of 36. And so the country went on. He became a successful prime minister.
So Christie would have done well to read the history book.
Read history books. And so what I'm saying to you, history, you got to sometimes reflect. I think the PLP had, I must say that I remember when I came in for that special rally at Iron Bailey Park. The Honorable Alison Maynard Gibson, Attorney General Mayshaw was here, the MC that event. And she said to me, Picewell, I know you could do the down home stuff, you could do it, but stay on script. And that night when Dr. Nordich had that slight feelings, that's maybe a stroke or whatever it is at Iron Bailey Park, I never forgot that night.
Yeah, when he was kind of speaking gibberish,
yes,
right?
And I remember that I came in and I went back the following morning to Anjo.
You were the MC that night.
That night, yes.
I watched that on television. And I was coaching. I said, why the hell Keith Bell don't get up and get that speech from BJ and have him quickly and let them direct the cameras away from him? I was just, in television, I'm looking at it. I'm saying, what are these fellas doing? Are they crazy?
But
That's what I said.
Well, Mr. McKinney, that night also, you must know Dr. Knowles. Dr. Knowles is a very determined man. He held the podium, but you could see something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I just stood there because we were close, and he always would scold me. And I looked at him. I said, "This is not my boy." When I touched him and he came in, you could feel, he had lost some weight. And I touched him, and he smiled. He was sweating profusely. And then he started to speak. And that night, back to that night, the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson told me to create energy and enthusiasm, but to stay on script. And I think it was important for the PLP to stay on message because we had done so much things, and there were some things that we wanted to complete. I think you always hear the comments about some people in the administration who could have been things could have been done differently, and there could have been some measures meted out to persons who would have maybe went. Some person would say afoul perceptively of the law or in their general code of conduct as a parliamentarian stroke a cabinet minister. I have my views about that. But by not reacting and not acting by the former prime minister, I think it costs us to some degree because persons felt as it was almost a free-for-all. And people have said that to me, especially what I call the corporate persons, those in the Toastmasters and the Rotary.
They were not impressed with them.
No, they didn't like, they wanted something to be done. And since you're talking about my colleagues, it started from the you going fishing on Saturday, I hope Brother Green from the Zephaniah Newbold thing.
Your Brother Green can throw you off the boat.
But he can't remember the boat. And so there were other things, and so
you don't have the investment in the building.
No. There were some persons were just bringing up. They brought up a few scenarios to me.
Yeah.
And so, but these are all my good friends. Minister Fitzgerald assisted me like no one did in the last campaign. I didn't have it financially. So he would have had his challenges, but Jerome is a friend. I don't turn my back on my friend. I'm not saying he got everything right or correct, but the fact of the matter is, I think there was still always, but the PLP didn't have a very good social media nor public relations campaign, in my view.
And Dr. Minnis outplayed you on that as well.
Totally, not to waste. Dr. Minnis, I told you the FNM had a very good ground. And let me tell you, opposition politics is always much easier than governing, Mr. McKinney, when you're governing, you got to be so careful and guarded in what you say. In opposition, you go on the platform and say almost anything. Man, we can do this, we can do that. And it's very easy. But the thing is, when you're in government, you almost got to defend your record, what you would have done.
Well, you all should not have a difficulty now because you're in opposition. You only have 4 in the army, but it's a, it's a big 4.
But 4. The entire Bahamas is our extended cabinet,
so you would
shadow
like,
cabinet.
So you would like to think.
The lady over there in the Grove, the young lady, the highly educated lady in Planhall Street, that young man up there on Eastern Road, he's the cabinet minister for Ministry of Youth. We got all the people in Nassau, the 267,000
who can help you all to
all those are shadow. That's why they come and they meet with me all the time.
Well, that's
they all give me advice. They're all shadow cabinet ministers for the PLP.
But realistically now, since you were talking with fantasy just now, realistically now, let's get to something. What's going to really happen within the body politic of the PLP? You've got some things that you've got to deal with.
Yes.
You've got to look at and see if you all fit the bill as far as where people want to go in this country.
We fit the bill.
And you've got to show signs that you fit the bill by having the kind of requisite young people involved in the party. And you've got a versus, hear me now, you've got a young people now versus the old guard, the old hierarchy of the way that the stalwart councillors and all those kabillion people that Christie put inside there on the council. How do you plan, or how do you see that even being impacted with a turnaround to try to point the opposition PLP in a direction where people will be attracted to them again?
The one good thing about it is that my leader, the Honorable Philip Brave, they was not afraid of young people and their mindsets and their challenges and their new way and creative way of thinking. Brave is not afraid. He likes young people. It invigorates or reinvigorates him. And so the fact of the matter is, I keep on telling people, someone said to me the other day, y'all should go no less than about 40 to 50% young, 25 to 44 years old for your candidates in the upcoming general elections. It's like a good suggestion. I think we have to bring in lots of new energy and lots of new faces in the party. But that vetting process is going to be one that's going to take some time. We're going to go through that process pretty quickly. We're going to be going out to all the communities, branches, and they're going to be reacting.
You're going to reorganize
and everything, yes. And Bradley Roberts, our present chairman, has already said he's not going to be holding on when the elections are held. When the party goes to convention, he would not be reoffering. So the party has to look for a new chairman. Then the process is going to be open one. everyone can jostle for the position that they want. But I think as an island boy, Philip Brave Davis is the one who's been there, been sturdy straight through. He many promises have been made to him. So when I look at Brave Davis, Hubert Ingram and others, they're island boys like me, man, who people say they couldn't do or couldn't, should I say,
arise to
certain levels. And so for them, I look up to them. Alfred Gray, as island boy who came from Hard Hill and Auckland. I come from Smithsville in South Andros. When I went to UE, people say, you can't go there. That kind of thing. Walk into school. So when I see people like Ingram and Brave Davis and Alfred Gray, they drive me daily. So when I sit in Parliament, I sit down, I thank God for the opportunity. I'm driven because these are persons who came from much more challenging circumstances than I am today. So I'm driven daily to continue to succeed. And when I look at it, I say to myself, the party itself and is going through this process of looking at some things and tweaking some things going forward. And many would say going through this rebranding, re-engineering. I hear all the talk and I know all the nice words and everything else.
You just chucked that to the back of you just now. You're not into that.
No, because the PLP is the PLP. The PLP has, okay, we got about 37,000 votes, but 37,000 persons did not vote, okay? The PLP's base is always solid between, like you said, 44 to 48,000 votes any given day. You go over the hill right now with about 40 boxes of the T-shirt for the PLP, people will put them on right now today. I can assure you that right on this radio right now. You can go right now to Baintang right now. Dr. Norris Memorial
What is this today?
I'm telling you right now. You go over the hill right now. The election just gone. Everyone who put on a red shirt, next one to put on a yellow shirt.
Right now.
Right now. And I ain't storying to you. I called it.
So that means that Minister really got an uphill battle because if you still could match 1 for 1 or 2 for 1, as what you're saying now, they could be in trouble within this term.
The PLP's in their belly, man. That's just the PLP.
I see.
People is getting mad. Husband and wife have their challenges, you get mad. You sleep in the front room for a day or two, and whatever you go away to Miami and you cool down, you go watch the Dolphins football and they come back home. The fact of the matter is the people got mad with the PLP. I'm not gonna go and surmise all the reasons. We've heard some of the reasons. I'm not gonna deduce them on national radio. But the fact of the matter is that the Progressive Liberal Party still stands. People understand this philosophy and history when it believes in, and Bahamian people they know that we need to come back to that, and that's why I think we're going to be okay. But we must address some issues in the party, clear up some things about our image, and the optics must be right. People must see us in a certain light. The optics are important. I remember those words from P.J. Patterson, former Prime Minister of Jamaica. The optics in politics must be right, and we must find a way to redress, and we are now on our way to do just that.
So when you talk about the optics and all that, people will look at it and say, well, you had an opportunity earlier to address the optics. The optics were that Alfred Sayers wanted to be the leader.
Yes.
And Alfred Sayers is very qualified and has written out a platform and had written out a plan of action for the next generation to take them there. But at the time, the optics were telling the PLP that no, Christie's the one, stick with him. They didn't move with Alfred Sayers. And I'm wondering now, after Mr. Christie's crushing defeat, where he even lost his own seat right across the road from Baintown, Centerville. I'm wondering now if the optics would be saying that now is the time to go and revisit this thing about Alfred Sayers and find yourselves a suitable, qualified statesmanship leader who can in fact rally the group and get to the next level. Because this is where it is with a lot of people who you claim will still put on the PLP shirt now. People told me, Steve, we'll put on them PLP shirts, but if Alfred says people like him is not in the mix to try to turn this party around, it ain't no use putting on these shirts.
Let me talk, man. You laid your case very well. You're putting the sad thing on me. Look here. It's a pure and simple thing. Picewell Alexander Leon Forbes from Smithsville in South Andros had virtually no money in the elections.
Understood.
You know the forces that came against me. For the first time ever, I lost 3 poll divisions in South and I won 3 in my hometown against R. Whitney Bastard, the most formidable of them all. And I ain't gonna give no further conversation because we worked together this one. I never lost no poll division in South because the people from South Andros and Drakesville and Mars Bay saw me on the back of Uncle David truck as I grew up collecting freight, and they knew Puis. They ain't call me Puis well. They knew Puis.
Yeah, Puis.
All their life, they watched me grow up as a big-head little boy with mom and papa in South Andros. The fact of the matter is, though, if I could have been, no PLP seat, because noted PLP seats in New Providence were lost. So don't go with no PLP seats foolishness. Because when you look at certain pages, the independent member was ahead of Pice while I was second in the trajectory, and the FNM was third in winning the seat of Central, South, and Mangrove Key Andros. Don't forget that point. And you heard all the commentary on radio. I don't think Picewell Forbes is going to make this. You remember that night was happening on election night, but God is good. Alfred says, my friend, who would have been at Norman Manley Law School while I was guild president at Mona, where we sat together under the soda fountain. I would have thought someone who put such a great program together, plan, after much thought and consideration, no matter what, Mr. McKinney, I hear all the comments where people say, if I vote for Mr. Christie, it would have been easier for me to follow Mr. Sayers. Had he been an elected member in Parliament, I say this publicly.
I understand.
The FNM made it. We talk about a mistake. What they said about Mr. Ingham couldn't talk, and so Lyndon made that saying that's the father of the nation, and Mr. Ingham came on to beat him in 1992. And my thing is this: if you have a leader of a party like the PLP or any other party, you saw with O.H. Tommy Tenquest, not a friend of mine. When he was leader of the FNM and outside of Parliament and the Senate, you saw what happened. 206, Mr. Ingham came back. Boop, boop, boop. You cannot lead, Honorable Brian McCartney, you cannot lead no real party in this country not being in the halls of Parliament where you have privilege, where you could ask some question and really get some real time. It ain't gonna happen. So let's forget that. So the leadership crew must come from the four that is in Parliament.
So you've already eliminated this for this particular dispensation. There will be no Sayers, is what you're saying. There cannot be a Sayers.
Sayers is going to be a part of the mix.
Yeah.
Sayers is going to be a part of the mix. But when it comes to leadership, it must be out of the four that is in Parliament. We survived, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, you are.
Against all the odds.
Absolutely. You are.
The hometown boy is still
you
here.
Are a survivor.
I'm a survivor. The hometown boy is still here. I'm going home this weekend, have some fried shad and everything when I defeat them. I am still here. Against all odds. If I go back to law school in September, I am still here through God's grace. So my thing is that you cannot lead no party outside of Parliament. So the leadership core must come from the elected members.
So you got Picewell, you got Glennis, you got Brave, and you got my good friend from Cooper from Exuma. So out of that four there, we're looking to see a new leader rise and take the mantle of the PLP in a real way and take it to the next level.
Stay tuned. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to get good. Like you say, it's going to get goody, goody, good.
This is Hard Copy. Picewell Forbes is my special guest today. Quite an interesting discussion and conversation. We've covered a lot of things. We're going to cover some more. For instance, the Menace administration, they're now in the seat of power. Will they do a good job? I'm going to ask Picewell. What's his idea of what the trajectory could be for them? Will they do pretty good? We don't know. We'll ask Picewell. What about the fact that he's now at CARICOM, where Picewell sat as the ambassador for CARICOM for some time? He's now going to be speaking later this evening in Grenada. And he will be talking about any number of things, including things like tourism and some other issues that are very concerned about security in the region. And will he come off the way that people are expecting him to as the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, who will make us all very proud? I certainly think he would. I certainly think so. What does Picewell Forbes and those who are in the PLP grouping opposition think about it? We're going to talk about all those things when we come back here this evening on Hard Copy Live. You can also line up on the telephone calls. We want to hear what you have to say. And I know you have some things to say. 325-023516, 325-0242 or 43, 325-0252 or 53. You can also text me or WhatsApp me at 376-9234. This is an interesting conversation today, candid and lively, and Picewell is telling you on no uncertain terms. If you're looking for leadership this time around, look in the space where the leaders are in the House of Assembly. They survived the tsunami. And so if they could survive that, they could survive any little old convention. We're back in just a minute. This is Hard Copy.
Ah, it tastes so good. Fresh, clear, ultra pure. Available at your neighborhood depot and nearest store. Echo Water, premium distilled. Don't be surprised. It comes in just your size. 20 ounces, 1 and 5 gallons, and 1.5 liters. Echo Water, just what the body needs.
Hey Bahamas, the signature event of the summer is almost here. Summer Glow. Independence Weekend, Friday, July 7th at Sapodilla Restaurant. One night of enchantment, entertainment, and flavor. With live performances by Julian Believe, Bodine, and Mr. Ghost Move himself, Abby. Music by DJ Fines. RSVP to live the experience. 327-2161. Follow Sapodilla Restaurant on social media.
Based on the premise of anything you can do, we can do better in the Bahamas. The Bahamian Brewery is 100% Bahamian owned and operated. Our thanks to you, Bahamas, for supporting our family of beers and beverages. Sands Light, High Rock, Strong Back, Bush Crack, Pink Sands, and Triple B. Brewed and bottled here and consumed right here in our Bahamas. Now that's truly Bahamian. The Bahamian Brewery encourages all of its fans to drink in moderation.
Attention homeowners. Do you have enough coverage for your home and possessions? Well, if you're not sure, maybe it's time you talk to Advantage Insurance. Your property and belongings are probably worth a lot more now than when you first insured them. After all the natural disasters we have experienced, it's more important than ever to be fully protected. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years of service.
The Water and Sewage Corporation advises its customers and the residents of Blue Hill Heights and Pride Estates that the corporation will commence improvement works on Tuesday, the 4th of July, 2017, for a period of 3 days. During this period, there may be an interruption in water supply and single-lane traffic around the work area between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. The corporation apologizes for any inconvenience and appreciates your support as we work to improve our level of service. Visit our Facebook page for updates and notifications.
The Show Bistro, Nassau Street, is serving up a delightful food fair this Independence. Be sure to make it a special occasion during the entire month of July and feast like a proud Bahamian at the show. Boiled and stewed grouper, served with piping hot yellow grits and Johnny cake, seasoned to perfection. Signature stewed cock, succulent and delicious as only the show can do it. The Show Bistro, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner with an Independence flair for the entire month of July. Come dine in with us and enjoy the good times. The Show Bistro, open every day including holidays from 7 a.m. until. Serving seafood and Bahamian delights galore all day only at the show. Nassau Street. Takeout orders also available. Telephone 323-4400.
Boy, this year flying by quick, eh? It'll soon be Christmas.
That's right, and I haven't even started saving yet.
Girl, what you waiting for? Why you don't join BOB's Christmas Club account? They give you higher interest than any other bank. So by Christmas, you'll have lots of money to buy presents for them 3 little rugrats.
That sounds like a great idea. How much do I need to open it?
Only $20, but you have to open it before June 30th.
Bank of the Bahamas Christmas Club account. Get more merry for your money. Only at Bank of the Bahamas, your bank of solutions.
Display your national pride and beautify your yard and garden for Independence. Rocky Farms Nursery, Seabreeze Lane salutes Bahamians across the archipelago this 44th Independence celebrations. Cash in on a 20% store-wide sale on all plants, seedlings, lawn and garden items, ceramic pots and planters, fruit trees, and a whole lot more. Be sure to spruce up for this Independence the entire month of July. Rocky Farms Nursery is your one-stop spot to make sure that you look good. Call them today at 324-1239. Happy Independence, Bahamas, from Rocky Farms Nursery.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them on 242-356-0249.
Attention homeowners. Do you have enough coverage for your home and possessions? Well, if you're not sure, maybe it's time you talk to Advantage Insurance. Your property and belongings are probably worth a lot more now than when you first insured them. After all the natural disasters we have experienced, it's more important than ever to be fully protected. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years of service.
McKinney, I feel good. You know why I feel good? Because I truly believe that our Prime Minister, Mr. Menace, is going to live by what he says.
Congratulations again on maybe one of the best talk shows that we have in the country.
Any country in the world that goes under because corrupt politicians. When a politician is corrupt, it causes his people to live hard. It causes taxes to go up.
Now it is time for this new government under Dr. Menace to do what is necessary on behalf of all Bahamians.
Welcome back to Hard Copy. Picewell Forbes, the former ambassador to CARICOM from the Bahamas, is with me today. He's also the member of parliament for South Andros, and he's on a mission. He wants to do some things before he leaves the precincts of the parliament, and he says that he wants to see if he can become somewhere around the way of perhaps a minister or so, or maybe the leader, maybe something like what they have in Grand Bahama, the minister of Andros, in a real way, just so that they can get some things done, because Lord knows they need something to happen in Andros after having all these ministers over the many years, from Darrow to whoever else. And at the end of the day, the people of Andros can say that we're not all that better off. There's nothing special about us. And when you compare that with what has happened in Cooperstown with Hubert Ingram, the former prime minister, you can see that it's like night and day. And so Picewell wants to see if he can get something done for those in the family violence, and we appreciate that, and we do understand, and we agree with that. And I think that he should go ahead and try his best. But the first thing he's got to do is he's got to get beyond this area of just 4 of them in the House and in opposition. He has to get back into the governance of the country. And talking about the governance now, are the possibilities any brighter right now? Because Menace and those were just the other day in opposition, about 7-8 weeks ago. Now they're the governor of the Bahamas. And we have to ask the question, how do you mark their manner? How is it now that people are looking at this new government with a lot of responsibility and a lot of burden, I suppose, financially speaking, and all the things that are happening around in the country, a poor economy, an economy that needs a big shot in the arm, the immigration problems.
No, stop giving me the excuses.
No. I don't want to be no excuses. No. I'm just saying. I'm saying that Picewell Forbes, listen to me. These are the conditions that they have met. These are the conditions, and these are real. These are real things. There is a poor economy. There are problems in crime and immigration and the rest of it. And there are many things that they have to do, in fact, to tighten. I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm saying you are now the government. We expect now that something is going to happen in these particular areas. And I'm asking you, now that this is the case, how do you see them fending for themselves? How do you see the government performing? Do you have high expectations, Mr. Forbes, about what can happen in this present dispensation with Menace at the helm?
Mr. Prime Minister, I know you're listening right now on your headphones before you go to the opening ceremony at 7:30 in Bridgetown, Grenada. Please, sir, I don't know, you might have to get a co-public relations person. Mr. McKinney and Mr. Newbold must work in tandem, because he just given the best massage just now to give you a little cop out, a little time to move a little further forward. So, sir, I think you need the services of. He's better than Chris Matthews. I think. But Steve, on a very serious note, I think people keep on forgetting, and they're saying to me, "On hometown, it's only 4 of you." And I said, "Hold on." I told a lady the other day coming through the airport at Bahamas there. I said, "You forgot a few days ago. We sat in Parliament, virtually made fun of Dr. Menace. There were only 3 of them. It was him, Peter, and Renwood.
Yeah, they now
I saw the Honorable Renwood Bells the other day. I went to his office. My heart became full. When he landed in Southern on homecoming weekend as the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, I was proud. He's from Drexel. His mom is. And to see, just a few days ago, his life changed overnight. His went this direction and mine went this way. For those who can't see, left and right. That's politics. And so the fact of the matter is, I expect much from them, from this new government. I think there's quite a lot of goodwill. The numbers are very, very high. They won the popular vote by good numbers. The expectation factor is very high also. The deliverables are something that they must go after. I think these things with misappropriation and malfeasance and misadministration, misadministration and this and that, all the other things involved therein, that's all well and good. But people want to now feel some of what we call the empirical stuff that they could actually feel.
You think those things are a distraction in a way, and they need to get on with the business of governance?
They must do that. And also, I must also admonish the government in some of this process where persons we're hearing could be laid off or their contracts come to an end. Mr. McKinney, the reality is this. I always go back. Politics is local, and for me, like I said to you this weekend, I go down to Central on Thursday, South Angeles on the weekend for Independence. The fact of the matter is, if you were to, I think there are some 20-something persons in South Angeles who would have been hired through the empowerment program. Good afternoon to Mr. Jack Thompson, who's now in the office of the Prime Minister, and in South Angeles and Mangrove Key. These persons, if that contract was to be taken away from them or removed or whatever, or if it was to be, let's say, taken away, leave it at that. What happens to them? Most of these persons during the political arena, I've been around, and I said to people, we have to attract some people because some of my PLP generals are dead. So we got 5. Give 3 PLPs, 1 F and M, and maybe one independent voters for Whitney last time. I was very direct with it. I spread it out. When it came to the bus contract, the same thing. I didn't look to say we'll give all 5 PLPs. That's why they wonder why people from both sides talk with the hometown boy. I try to be different. You gotta have a big tent mentality in politics. There's a time when you gotta get down the gutter and be direct. Now I ain't gonna let you beat up on me. I ain't gonna take your nonsense. But I think once people are respectful, you know what was really enlightening? The local government election just went in South. Some of my generals didn't like the way it went. But I got a call, a gentleman in South Angeles, I wouldn't call his name on national radio, who I know did not support me. Was, diametrically opposed to me being elected in my policy and how I felt about some things. But he commended me, and he said, Mr. Forbes, you and Mr. Zebedee Roll, the new chief counselor, who we know is a known F&M, like we'll send the down home vernacular, a raw-bone F&M. You almost work together. When you're coming down to pay a courtesy call on the new council in South Andros, I almost didn't know how to respond when I got a call from this gentleman, who I know many times he saw me in the airport, almost avoided me. But it shows that, and I said, sir, I respect the call. He said, Paiswell, I see something different in you. I said, what do you see different? He said, I watched you in Parliament the other day, and you weren't just getting up and talking nonsense. And when you spoke during your budget contribution, you made sense. He said, and people in my yard who never voted for you before, so they saw a different Paiswell. That made me think. And so therefore, I told many persons my everyday conduct, what I say, when I say. The Paiswell falls me in Frankston went and then we carried on bad when Papa was there and all that kind of stuff. There's a time for that. We'll have the jocular moments across the Parliament floor. You're not going to let people beat up on you. You have those days, and all that. Heckling and everything else. But at the end of the day, as we have all this goodwill for the new government, people want to feel some things right away. I think the program with Minister Lloyd with the computers for the young people in the school, I can never forget, I went to Vanuatu some years ago, Mr. McKinney. I think I told you this before. All the children's, all the students' desk had a PC on their desk. No one was stealing them stuff. In the Bahamas, most of the schools, they got 1 computer lab. And we just next door to Florida. And we still have computers and laptop. Like, it's a big thing. It's the signatures. If you got an iPad, it's like something you could walk into Starbucks or to a law firm or a bank with someone and say, I got an iPad. In that part of the world, everyone has one. The children on the skateboard has one. I went to Jamaica and Montego Bay to the seminar late last year. All the little children in Jamaica had laptop, and I was very surprised. When I went to Haiti, I saw the same. I said, what the devil? In Bahamas, all the schools got one little lab with all this chain link and all these things around a lab. And
we're not thinking enough to make sure that these things happen.
Our focus on the parents, our focus must be wrong. How in the world we can go and buy our kids a $200 tennis shoe? And our educational system must be missing, doing something wrong, something incorrect. Because the children, I watch my granddaughter, Kylie, for example. She comes there and Drew brings her there on Paisilla. You want to see her quiet, you give Kylie an iPad. And she remembers the code. She gets on, she knows how to find all the games and everything. And so she would hardly ever know how to read, how to write when I call it a pencil or pen. Because she's doing everything in her school at the age of 2.
Yeah.
That's my son DiMattio's daughter on an iPad. For me, I still sitting down, writing the long way, and then I go peck and type or tell Paisel to type it for me. This is real talk.
We know what you mean. We understand
so
that very well.
Our educational system, Mr. McKinney, must be re-engineered where the preschool, and the thing it is, Mr. McKinney, these churches and the lodges who got these preschool, where children let's go in these preschool, let's sit down and sleep and go on the floor and lay down, that's over. Young people must now be going to preschools this summer. Listen to me, please. Listen to the hometown boy. If you have a preschool, no matter what church, even if it's the Church of God, this summer, Bishop Moses, go to Miami, find a refurbished school somewhere and get about 100 or 200 iPad. The children in the world, when we were in South Korea, they're beating us because we're not prepared for the new information highway. We're not prepared for the new technology. You can't be going to school with Milo Butler book in the 21st century, and you still can't operate and no more how to text.
Well,
This is real talk.
the Prime Minister has gone on record saying that he would like to see there's good communication and cooperation with the churches of the Bahamas in so many areas that can help in the prevention of crime, the fighting of crime, the education of our children, the job skills of a lot of young people. Your thoughts along that, because that to me is a very good idea to involve the church. So many other leaders have come around and they have said that they're involved in the church, but Minnis actually reached out and said he would like to see this thing actually happen. Now, what are your viewpoints on that? Because really the church has not been involved as best they could be involved, and they need to sometimes, initiate some things. This I agree. Sometimes they've not done that. Do you think that this is a good mix, not to create a theocracy or anything of that nature, but the fact is to get the church so much involved in the governance of a country that they have a reason to be interested, they have an investment to make. And I wonder your thoughts about Minnis's viewpoints along the lines of the church really trying to do much more than they have been doing.
I would say to my leader right now, the Honorable Philip Brave, they was watch Prime Minister minister with the church. He yucked the church at our hand in the last election. Let's go down home, and I'm talking real big.
He yucked the church at your hand.
Look, after the gambling referendum, the church and the PLP, something didn't feel quite.
Yeah, wasn't a comfortable relationship anymore.
The relationship
wasn't so cozy.
No, it was soured to some degree. And you listened as you went to, I don't care what you say, you have the established church, churches, pardon me. But when you go to funerals at certain churches over the hill, Odell Corner, Bedolio Street, DeVoe Street, church with a congregation of about 100, 150, they supported the PLP. And you had to pass to them lambasting, lashing out.
Yeah, I
was concerned. And for the most part, we had lost a lot of the religious leaders. And we've got to be mindful of the fact that a person like the A.S. Colbeck, R.A. Cooper, and H.W. Brown, your pastor at Bethel, and others would have been a part of those formative years. They formed the grand norm of the Constitution through their religious belief. We're the only constitution in the world that's preached the Christian principles. And being the PLP cannot allow, this invasive species of the new leadership of the Evident to come and take the church vote from us. But on a serious note, the church is important. I'm a very important player in this game.
Minnis has got the right idea.
The church is important. The church in the Bahamas still has some moral suasion, but not only that, has moral compass. I believe in the church. I'm not saying them. I totally agree with theocracy, but the fact of the matter is, I think if you stick with the Word of God and have it as your guiding principle, and there must be a separation of church and state, of course, but there must be a conscience that is God-centered, that is good for the country. And this is still a place like the late Dr. Miles, where God lives, here in the Bahamas.
One of the other things that's happening here now is that I asked you about those things because I wanted to see your grounding. Obviously, I know that I know you for all my life, and so here it is. We all came up, Moses and myself, Bishop Moses Johnson, and Bertie Johnson, and those in the Tribune, in the dark room. I was from upstairs in reporters area, and they from the dark room, and Paiso visited there just about every day because you and Moses seem to have been, been very, very close friends. And so I know that the church is a very important part of it. I'm interested. I found it interesting what you said that there was some kind of loss of capital with the church folk, and that is why I think that Menace has reached out to that. This is a very good move to make sure that they are all partners, and that's the most important thing. Not so much political, but that they're all partners in where they're trying to go. Menace is now in Grenada. He's there because this is CARICOM time. And this is what happens around this time. And so here it is. He's over there. And people are expecting him to do extremely well. There are issues that are a big concern. When you were here the first time and I spoke with you as ambassador to CARICOM, I had brought up these ideas that I talked about the fact that we in the Bahamas have never really asked CARICOM for any real help at the level of interdiction. This whole thing about the immigrants coming down here in the Bahamas, because most of them don't go up to Jamaica or Barbados. They come right here in Nassau for the most part, Exuma and those places. And this is where the problem is. But we've never really asked for any real help. There's a reason for security in the region. Menace perhaps would take a look at this thing and perhaps even bring it up about the whole idea of Haitian migration, Jamaican migration, those kinds of things. But do you suppose that that is where he's going when you look at the fact that regional security seems to be a big matter because of all of the human trafficking and the rest of it that happens, the drug running, the gun smuggling, and all that? And what do we bring to the table when it comes to that? You are the ambassador, so you would know, have a close idea as to what is really the expectation and what are the things on the table from the past government.
Oh, definitely. The issue of national security was a major one. Dr. B.J. Knowledge led this through CONSLE, which is the Caribbean region of the local law enforcement agencies. And the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Greenslade, would have been a part of those discussions also, he and members of his team and delegation. And now the members of the Bahamas Defense Force and the Correctional Institution and all the other law enforcement agencies and also immigration matters. I had a chance to attend meetings with also Director Pratt of Immigration. ISIS and terrorism is a major concern. As you know, there are some 13 members of the Society of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago that would also been conscripted or would have traveled to Syria and other parts of the Middle East. This created much concern because of the issue of CARICOM passports. There was a big discussion when we met in Barbados, I think a year ago, and the concern involved therein and the freedom of movement of people. The issue of the CSME has become a common and single market economy. It's another issue that is going to be another discussion that is coming up again, and the free movement of people. The Bahamas did not sign on. Of course, you know, back in the day with the alien actually, the first PLV administration, the first Christie administration, pardon me, and the Bahamians and the
CSME was a big thing.
Was a big issue.
Yeah,
at the time that
we had protests and demonstrations about it.
Yeah, civil society and others were up in arms about it. But the world has changed a whole lot since then. But, you know, President Donald Trump has come with the wall and all the other things about they're in. So the more things change, the more they say they remain the same generally. So you can't operate in this isolationist mood no longer, because the world is so interconnected. But issues in the Bahamas, in the region, must be issues such as the financial services sector is a major concern. Prime Minister Gaston Browne of the Antigua and Barbuda led that charge in the Bahamas when the meetings were held here. And it's still a major concern because we are still being blacklisted and graylisted in the region. And we have signed a number of TIAs, tax exchange information agreements. And so therefore, the FATF and OECD countries are still coming after small and developing territories such as ours on the issue of declaring and confidentiality and persons coming at the issue of the citizenship to nationality issue to citizenship program in St. Kitts and Antigua, and even here in the Bahamas has created some concern, but especially in St. Kitts and I think in St. Lucia, been creating much more concern in who is being attracted to our territories. Climate change is another big issue that we must redress. President Trump the other day announced that America seemed to be very reticent or prepared to drop out of the after all the COP2 and all the discussions, 22 discussions on climate change, and Minister Dossett, former Minister Dossett, was very involved, and he got high accolades at the last meetings. But also, there must still be at CARICOM, the other bodies that the CARICOM region is very involved with, the ACS, the Association of Caribbean States, just by extension would mean the Cuba and the other territories in Dominican Republic and others, where we were at the meetings just a couple of years ago. President Obama would have been to the ACP, the African and Caribbean Pacific State countries come together, CELAC, which includes Latin America with Venezuela and others, and then LAC countries and many others. So when you look at CARICOM itself, the body itself must also change because the world is changing, and you need numbers because the world is going into blocks. Although the world keep on tweaking itself, without numbers, your voice is not going to be heard. So Prime Minister Christy, while he was chair of CARICOM, also led the charge to have 5 new members with both Suriname, and St. Martin, Guadeloupe, and Martinique, and others become associate members of CARICOM. Although they are dependent states or still territories of the motherland, France and Great Britain, what have you.
So Haiti is now a full member.
Haiti is a member of CARICOM. And so the whole thing is now, we had some issues with the Dominican Republic, the whole issue of revoking all the people who were born there but revoked their citizenship through the court system some years, few months ago. That created a major stir with the Dominican Republic. Then we still have some issues with them with the borders and the fishing issues, but then Minister Mitchell led a number of delegations there.
So there will be breakout sessions from CARICOM that we can be able to talk about these kinds of situations, because
in the columns, they have you have the one-on-ones, the bilaterals, where we have discussed these. Then sometimes it'll be brought to the floor, generally to discuss
this one about Dominican Republic and the fishing in our territorial waters.
But that's why you got to commend the effort of the late Dr. Knowledge, where we invested in those boats. I mean, this has been the best fishing season our fishermen and managers have had in the last 63 years.
Which was something that you all should have played up in the election, but you missed the boat on that one, so to speak. Forgive me the pun, but you missed the boat. The point is this too, Picewell, when you look at what is happening in the territory, in the region, there seemed to be a new appetite. You talk about CSME, yes, for people to do what they want to do with the single market economy, that kind of thing. But there's also this viewpoint about free movement of labor. And I'm concerned about that because we now see what we have in the country with Brenton Simonet the other day, the Minister of Immigration, expressing that there was about 115,000 work permits given in this 5-year period under the last regime. The point what I'm making is that we've got to be very careful, and I don't know if there's any dialogue that's been happening in your time there and what the dialogue will be going forward. We've got to be careful about this whole thing about just this open border kind of thing where the people are able to just travel. And I know they have this thing about CARICOM citizens, and that CARICOM citizens, we never really ascribed to that kind of thing in a way to the point where we benefited or we took advantage of that. We call ourselves Bahamians, this is our passport, and that's the end of it. But they do have areas where you can go in their CARICOM states that they say they traveled on a CARICOM passport. And so there's a viewpoint within the region that there are people who want to just travel in and out wherever they can. And I don't know how our government is trending along those lines.
Bahamas is not a part of CSME, so the free movement is another concern. What we call the labor force, that the person has, what do you call, what's the word here? When someone has a skill that is unique to them, but it's not in our country. I forget that. I can't remember the diplomatic word for it. But the whole fact of the matter is that they could then come here and be here for a period of time. Then they could train locals, and they could then go back to revert to their original homeland. That's the anticipation. Sometimes it don't happen. But the numbers that the Minister Brent Smith that you alluded to earlier sounds alarming and could create some unnecessarily stir, because, say, for example, if you say you would have given 107,000 permits, you could have given most of those at, say, at Carnival, for example, Mr. McKinney, it still counts. You see, this is what I'm talking about, the conjecture and what language does. So you say, oh my God, where Christian give all this, as hard as Mitchell is, you see what I'm saying to you?
115,000 is really, it is alarming in a way, because when you compare that with what the actual labor forces of the country.
He had the former Deputy Prime Minister has the record for having the most in 1 year, which should have been almost 67,000 in 1 year.
Yeah, but see what I'm saying?
107,000 in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so and that's why I was glad that the Bahama deal was unsealed, because it gave the impression that person said that we were bringing in 20,000 Chinese, 10,000 Chinese, all these numbers. So when, for instance, I was at Johnson's barbershop that day when they said only 1,500, someone said monkey foot.
Only 1,200.
Only 1,200, yes. And you got the impression that Christie was giving away the whole country to the Chinese. And Mr. Christie took a lot. I mean, unfairly so in the press especially. But that's the way it is. And that's why he said, I am, I wear the belt, heavy's the crown. Heavy's the one who wears the crown, everything is on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks away like a man. That's why I respect him. And I said to him, he would have fought the good fight. And I still celebrate Mr. Christie. Our relationship would have gone a long way in getting to where it is today. We didn't start on the best of foot, but Mr. Christie was one who also would have been a part of that process to see me go through the maturation process. And I think as a prime minister, he really worked hard. I mean, I wouldn't say he got everything right, him nor his team, nor all of us, not even me. He didn't get everything right. I put it all on, we were all a part of a collective team. But I know we had the Bahamian peoples and the Bahamian interests at heart. By and large, that's what we did.
But it didn't come across that way as far as perception is concerned, so they took you out of office.
That's perception, that's what I'm saying. So, we out of office. I tell people the F&M had 3. There was Dr. Minnis walking with his head. He came and got Mark president and he left. And then you had Peter Turnquist who left at about 11 o'clock. And Brandon Wells left just after. Then you had Richard Lightbourne, Theo Neely, Nico Grant, Hubert Chipman and Loretta, those in the front row. They were going on to be the next this and that, so and so and so. Fortunes have changed. The man who had 3, he had 1 less than us, is now prime minister. So there's still hope for the great PLP.
Well, Christie says that, he is accepting full responsibility. And we share that with you before we end.
As the person who led the government and who led the government into a defeat was to accept responsibility for it, as I did when I resigned. There was never any thought on my part that I was accepting responsibility for any degree whatsoever of criminality, irresponsible spending, and the notion that the cupboard is bare is just political slogans.
Well, that's former Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie. I hope that we're going to get a chance to talk with him soon so that we can go back and look at a couple of key things that may have happened. And he may have also make some admissions about some key things, because I'm sure that he would have heard a lot of the coaching that was done on the radio, not only by myself, but others who said that, you need to lift this thing and do something else. And here it is, the same kind of coaching, in a way I call it coaching, has been happening in this Minnis administration so far. Now, they've only been in for about 40 days.
And they're listening to you already?
No.
They're not listening to you?
No, I don't think so. They've been in for 40 days.
I better warn them. But if you don't listen to Steve McKinney, Heiswell going to be wearing that top hat the next 4 years downtown. You better listen to Steve McKinney. But I landed, I heard him, I got mad many days. And I said, I better listen to 100 Jams instead.
But listen, what you're looking at now is 40 days. 40 days they've been in. Bradley Roberts has already hit them in some crucial areas, because he is not incorrect to talk about the fact that they've gone on vacation after the summer recess, which is expected after the break for the parliament. But at the same time, there should be an agenda that's on the table. Someone called me yesterday and says, Steve, man, listen, all they can do, they can get the agenda ready for when they come back. But we know that the parliamentary procedure and the kind of traditional way of doing things is to be prepared, do your work before you go, so when you come back, you just run in and continue. And no, there was no agenda that was set. And he mentioned a number of things, like what should have been dealt with, like energy reform, what's going to happen for the financial services sector, what's going to happen for the economy, the jobs and all that people are looking for. These are areas that the Free National Movement must be concerned about, because now it's on their watch. And there's no excuse to be made, because they're now the government. How do you see all of those things?
That's the point I'm making. You're going to extend some break. So therefore, if you, for example, if the government, for example, as a leader in the government business, the Honorable Randall Wells, would have said, members, we are going on a break, but I want you to know that we're going to come back with a busy schedule come September. I think Dr. Norris did this about 1 or 2 years ago, and we'll be looking at the following bills. We plan to look at the financial services sector bills with emphasis on
this is what should have been said.
On the clearing bank, for example, yes. We're going to be looking at domestic banking. We're going to be looking at the entrepreneurship agreement or the venture capital fund or whatever it is, or the homeowners bill or whatever it is. So at least you have an idea. If you look at 5 issues, if you sit down every day to your office, you go online, you look at different stuff, you could kind of put something together, at least some basic talking points. So when Parliament resumes, you could know what to do. Because if you go on vacation and you get back to Parliament, you come and you watch their pleasantries, and you could waste the day just coming and extending pleasantries.
Not only that, conditions could change in the country, and you could come back with a crisis.
Right. And so I mean, you generally always want to kind of have a tune as to what you're going to come back to in September.
I agree.
I think, but I think it's not bad to have the summer breaks, because you have the members of Parliament who would have been campaigning, going through the whole process.
Understood.
And then you have the school repairs that must go on in the summer. People need to have some family time. So when you come back in September, I know the schedule is there. So I tell people, when this government doesn't succeed, the Bahamas doesn't do well. I want to wish them the best. I wouldn't want them to stay longer than 5 years. I wouldn't want to be in opposition longer than that. But the fact of the matter, this is the Bahamas, man. I live here. And so therefore, whatever happens here has implications for how I live and how the standard of living that I would have, and for my children and my children's children. So the fact, I want to wish them the very best. But at the end of the day, all I want to let them know that the Progressive Liberal Party under the leadership of Philip Brave Davis is watching, be a monitoring, and be a part of the process and the discussion, be a part of the governing process. I'm glad this Hannah Martin with her testy and fiery mode. I'm in my down homestead and tested with his financial services background. And the Honorable Philip Brave Davis is the collective, I should say, he embodies all of those other things that put together. Calm, sober, he brings a level of sobriety to the discussion, but don't take him for granted. Brave is lethal when it comes to the political arena. He understands it. When it comes to the ground game, do not discount Philip Brave Davis.
And if you're looking at the a group, the leader of the party at the end of the day through the convention has to be somebody who's in the Parliament, as Peaceful has said.
No two ways about it.
This is what is expected to be able to do fighting battles.
You wouldn't want to see nothing else, Mr. McKinney. You must look at it. I mean, we look at what has happened in the region. When you've had a situation, for example, in Grenada, I think it was in Jamaica, when you do not have a leader who was elected in Parliament. Peter Phillips could not lead until he became elected.
Yes.
Portia kept on winning. You no matter what they came up with. Portia Simpson kept on winning. Now Peter's there because she retired the other day. So the fact of the matter is, that's where you are. You cannot lead outside of Bruce Golding realized that a long time ago. When Siaga came back and beat him in the JLP. You've got to be in the elected Parliament. You must have privilege where you have standing. There must be a level on national issues. So you must have a level of you must have some level of leeway where you can speak but in an unfettered kind of way, and Parliament gives you that. And so to be outside of Parliament as a leader of a party, you'll be calling press conferences every day, trying to attract attention to you. It's very difficult.
Faisal Forbes, somebody says that, and there's a thinking that's now in circulation, that ministers and those who will be in the Parliament for a long time, that they're going to be the government of this country for a long time, as long as they're able to showcase what they're doing and articulate it properly and project their plans and execute on their plans, that they will be there for at least 2 terms.
Well, the PLP had 30 seasons.
The question is,
we said we can lose 5 or 6, and we'll be there for a long time. And so what happened to us? So I'm telling you, my brother,
don't count on it.
Don't count on nothing with the Bahamian people. No government has stood since 1997. In today, out tomorrow.
Yeah.
In today,
20 years tomorrow. Of that.
That's it. And so my thing is that if history is a teacher, please take note.
Yeah.
So they have a very, very short fuse, and they expect to see some things happen. I want to wish them the very best. But we will be planning and putting our plans forward. And we're going to be readying our tents. And have many young people who are excited, who are coming forward in large numbers to be a part of what we're doing. Branches are being infused once again. Energy is back on the ground. Our leaders energized. We're going to be going to all the regattas and the homecomings and all the communities. And we're going to be everywhere.
This is a down period, but it's a time to spread your tentacles.
Going to spread. We've been in Cat Island, we've been in Blackburn over the August Monday holiday weekend, we've been Farmers Key, Staniel Key. Then we're going to go down to Long Island. Then we're going to Inagua on August Monday, my birthday, August 1st. We'll be down in Inagua. You know, the best kept secret in the Bahamas. We got to bring Inagua back to you, McKinney. For Christ's sake.
Anyway, Faisal, we're going to leave it there. I appreciate you coming today, my friend, and we thank you very kindly. And we wish you the best.
Thank you, sir.
And hope that you can get some things done under this particular government.
I have
Maybe
many friends there, man.
maybe you will not be maybe Ingham will not be the last fella to be pursuing you, because if Minister decides that he's going to look at you in a way, you may be able to get some things done in the area of Andros to really be that minister in waiting, who will in fact be able to get some things down in Andros town for the people down in South Andros. I appreciate it. And
I think Prime Minister better really pay you, boy. You I really enjoyed the opportunity this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it too. All the best to you now.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, Picewell Falls with us today, former ambassador to CARICOM, and certainly he did a pretty decent job there, as you can hear. And we're all looking forward that he will continue to do well in the area of politics. And I told the people, when I heard you earlier today, Picewell said that there were people who would say, don't look like Picewell could win this. But when I was doing the broadcast here on this station, you were listening to the wrong station, because we said on this station that, listen, I believe that every broadcaster who's running will win. And even if that means Fred will win as a former broadcaster, well, that's too bad. I said, that's the bad one that I perhaps don't want to win. But if he wins, it'll be Obi and Picewell. And I said that. So the point is this, that not all is bad, not all is lost. And we wish you as a broadcaster or as a radio announcer, as you were, to do well and to see how best you can help to bring redress and relief to the people of South Andros. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you.
Stephen, let's go home. I better do this now because I somehow forgot to do this. Everybody is talking about the signature event of the Summer Glow. It's Friday, the 7th of July at Sapadilla Restaurant. The dinner portion is completely booked, but there are still a few tickets left for the Summer Glow party. Secure your tickets right away so you can enjoy live entertainment and dancing all night long. Feel free to wear your Bahamian colors for this independence. It's on the 7th. It's at Sapadilla. It's called Summer Glow. Call 327-2161 and ask for Tia, and you will be served. Thank you so much. Our show has been brought today by Sapadilla and the Summer Glow crew. Also, Seafowl, the 44th Independence Celebration, Bank of the Bahamas, the Show Bistro, Mount Tabor, Supervisor, Rocky Farms Nursery, Water and Sewage, Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, Commonwealth Bank, Cool Tech, Bahamian Brewery, Superwash, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, Ron's Electric Motors, Executive Printers, and the McKinney Media Group. For the best results in advertisement, consultation, public relations, and all of that, we will do it here for you, and we'll do it great. That's our show for today. Tomorrow on the show, I think it's Wednesday, we have some people. I'm not so sure. My producer didn't give me that list again for some reason, or maybe she did, but I don't see it right now. But anyway, 5 o'clock is the time that you want to stick close to the radio. You want it to be on 107.5 FM, and you want to be ready for hard copy. Because it's always hard and it's always interesting, and we always got people like Picewell Forbes who will come along and make it great fun. Good night from Hard Copy. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.